All right, so on the day 50 years ago, mom and dad got married. I added it up, and it seems like mom would have been about a month and a half to 2 months pregnant with me. So I've pretty much been here the entire time, and I'm just going to talk about some of the memories I had during that time. Uh, right around my birthday, a few times, we could go spearfishing for sturgeon. You had to catch it with a spear because sturgeon is a sucker fish. But we would catch them, and sometimes you'd find one that was still pregnant with eggs, and you'd squeeze them out in a bucket. And I distinctly remember Dad saying that he could make more money selling the eggs to somebody who turned it into caviar, but he sold it to the natural resources, the DNR or whatever, because they would grow the eggs and then replenish the stock. And that's the kind of person that Dad was. Um, Doing that uh, also led to another thing that we did, which was Dad would get me in the truck and we'd just be driving. I wouldn't know why because I'm in my own little world. But Dad would be looking out, so we're driving along, talking about this, talking about that, or whatever. And then he'd get all excited and he'd point out there and be like, "Yep, this is a good spot." And he'd pull over and wouldn't make any sense at all. He'd start walking, and then he'd point out the fact that this particular grove of pines uh, had squirrels knocking down the cones. So for the next couple hours, we'd be loading up buckets or loading up the back of the truck with pine cones. We'd go sell the pine cones. Same thing, DNR. They'd buy them, and I guess they'd kiln dry them, get the seeds out, and then go reforest somewhere that had been burned out or somewhere that they had forested. Let's see here where else we got. I can remember a lot of the trips, like trip out to Seattle, Washington, um, Anaheim, California, uh, Phoenix, Arizona, going out to see the Grand Canyon, um, sitting in the living room at Uncle Francis and Marie Don's. Uh, I don't remember specifically if these were all the same trip or different trips, but I can distinctly remember Grandpa Buckeye. Um, Specifically, uh, he used to be a, I don't even know how to explain it, wheeler and dealer kind of thing like Dad did. But his thing was his Greyhound buses. He'd go buy lots of these luggage that were unclaimed, and so I can remember there was like a Quonset or something on the side of the house in Phoenix, and it was just hundreds or maybe even thousands of jeans and shirts, and then there'd be boxes full of like toothbrushes and soap and shampoos, and I'm sure that we wore a lot of clothes that we acquired from the Greyhound bus line growing up as kids. And we were actually in Phoenix on one trip long enough that we went to school in Phoenix, Peoria, actually, specifically. Um, I can remember picking oranges from the front of the property in Peoria. And I had the awesome experience of sitting in the passenger seat of my Grandpa Buckeye's racing car. And he was just doing time trials, so he wasn't really racing against anybody. But the sheer power of being shoved into the seat when he hit the accelerator, I'll never forget that. Um, I can remember going out into the desert to a abandoned city, ghost city or whatever, ghost village or whatever you want to call it. Um, I guess I got to keep looking at my list of things, of memories. I had an accident when we were in Washington. I don't remember. I think I was riding a bicycle, and somewhere I still got pictures of this, the after I'd gotten all sewed up and fixed up. And I still got the scar tissue underneath my beard. I always keep my beard on my chin because it covers up my scar tissue. That happened in Washington State, and I think I was riding a bicycle. Um, a lot of things that me and Dad did that we probably didn't do with other people. For example, I mean, that my other brother or sisters had, like, we had the quartet for a number of years. We were barbershop quartet singers. And a lot of times after we'd practice, we'd drive into town and we'd practice. And then we would go out and Dad would have a beer and then I would drive home. Or like there were Sundays or Mondays sometimes too, where we'd go to a sports bar and watch the game. And then I would drive home because Dad had had a beer or two. Chips and salsa and beer. That was his thing. Uh, I can't remember any specific games. I never was that much into sports. Some people they have vivid memories of specific games. I don't have anything like that, but I can remember sitting in a sports bar and watching the game with Dad and then driving home. And that was quite a few times that happened. Or just we would go driving somewhere. Nowhere in particular, no particular reason why, just because it was a Sunday afternoon and we didn't have anything better to do. And we would drive to the headwaters of the Mississippi. Of course, the whole time Dad would be explaining why it was all BS because it wasn't really the true headwaters of the Mississippi. That there's a fork where they mismeasured the amount of the volume of water coming through it or something, and the real headwaters was where we live or something like that. I can't remember the science on it exactly, but I remember the adamant explanation that they got it wrong. Um, a couple of times there's a couple of times that I can remember Dad taking me on the road with him when I was younger, and of course there was quite a few times when I came back after me and um, Leanne had splitting up that we went on the road together selling um, the imports to to different small stores around northern Minnesota, mostly northern Minnesota. He occasionally went into, I think maybe North Dakota or even maybe South Dakota. I'm not even sure how extensive his routes were, but he was always so proud to show me off when I would go on these trips with him. It'd be like you'd walk into a store and he'd start trying to talk about what he had to sell and whatnot. And this is my son, and blah, 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 showing me off, talking me up. And seems to me that there were businesses that he would help sometimes. I can't put my finger on it specifically, but I always got the impression that some people got a better discount or better rate just because he liked them better, or maybe he felt like he was helping them out. Um, I don't know how many people can remember the Olympic Games at what was it, Camp Delwater. I know that was kind of Chucky's thing for a while, but it was a childhood memory that was a good childhood memory for a few years there, where we had been really involved with Camp Delwater. Um, just all the memories of the family getting together, the reunions, and the trips. Just so many trips all over the country that mom and dad left me with. And there really was a lot of good memories as a kid. 50 years, I really thought when I started thinking about all this that I was going to come up with a lot of negative stuff. But the more and more I thought about it, I realized that all my good memories as a kid growing up they were good memories. Good memories of family getting together and uh, time spent together at the school, at the church, at grandma and grandpa's, the skits at grandma and grandpa's. Oh my God, that year was so good. So many people got back together and we had such a good time. Um, I don't know why I'm crying because these are good memories. Seven Sticks, Bottle Rocket Wars. I don't know if Chucky remembers when the, I don't remember which reunion it was, but we had a bunch of bottle rockets, and for some reason Chuck wasn't over at Grandpa Northup's house, so we snuck through the woods in the field and shot at his house with bottle rockets. uh, Good times. So, mom, dad, it's been 50 years, and it's been a good 50 years. I appreciate them. And I'm not going to make it this year. Maybe I can make it this spring for the next reunion. And thank you for the times, for the parenting, and happy anniversary.